Hi there, today I want to talk to you about Esperanto words for various types of restaurants. If you take nothing else away from this lesson, just remember this. Restaŭranto is not the word for a restaurant in Esperanto. Restaŭranto means something completely different. The word you're looking for is Restoracio. That is a restaurant. All right, cool. Now, let me explain that a bit more thoroughly and give you some bonus words for other specific types of restaurants you might encounter or want to go to. Here's a couple of tongue twister sentences that will help illustrate the points I'm making. La restauranto restauris la reston de la rusta turo. Moses supposes his toes are roses, but Moses supposes erroneously. Li poste restis, kai restarigis la rustican restauracion. Now Moses, he knows his toes aren't roses, as Moses supposes his toes to be. What do these sentences mean? Are you able to figure out most of it? All right, let's go word by word. The restauranto, what is that? A restaurant? No. It's anto, which is like Esperanto, means one who hopes or one who is hoping. It means one who is currently doing blank. So what does restaur mean? Restauris, what is that? Restauri means to restore something, like restoring an old grandfather clock at an antique store that isn't working. Putting a nice coat of paint on it, fixing the nicks and scratches to it. Restauri is that, okay? The AU there, that's restauri. So the restoring person, the person who restores stuff, and you'd often just use restauristo for a professional antique dealer, but la restauranto restauris, restored the what? La reston, the remainder, de la rusta turo, of the rusty tower. I started drawing a tower and realized I didn't have enough room to make it towery, so that's a house, and this is a tower. What's the second sentence mean? Li poste restis, he later remained, restis, kai restarigis, to stari is to stand, starigi is to make stand up, and restarigi is to make stand up again, so to re-erect something, which in many ways is similar to restore something, but a bit more thoroughly. You don't re-erect a building by giving it a new coat of paint. You'd have to do a little more work than that. He later remained and re-erected the rustic, rustican, restauracion, restaurant. Restauri is to restore. Remember the tauri part and turo, the tower and tauri. I'm going to restore this tower, okay? That sound means, it has to do with restoration. And you're not going to use that word unless you're someone who deals with that. That's a rare thing. I've never even used the word restauri at an Esperanto gathering or with a friend who speaks Esperanto. So you're not going to use it. I just want you to know what it would mean if you were to use restauranto. The O there's no O in restauri, but the O in restauracio means it's open for business, okay? Ni rencontigis en eleganta Cina restauracio. We met up in an elegant Chinese restaurant. Great. So now you know. Restauranto and restauracio are two very different things. Now, bonus, we're going to learn some other words for types of restaurants. I'm not going to include on this list esoteric things like the canteen for the soldiers or the cafeteria for the students or the refectory for the monks of that monastery. No, I'm talking about words you would actually use for the general public in a normal, everyday town. Some you might recognize, some you might be able to guess, some maybe not. Here they are. Kie ni manjos? Where will we eat? Well, you have a few options. Kafejo is a coffee shop or a cafe. You've probably seen that one or heard that one before. Here it gets a little more interesting. What about a tea room, specifically? A fancy room where you sit down and have tea and cake around, high noon. There, I would lean towards saying Tesalono. You could also say Tetrinkejo or Teejo, but you can see where the awkwardness is in saying Teejo and not messing that up with pronunciation. It doesn't roll off the tongue as easily as Kafejo. So I would say Tesalono for a tea room. Next, we've got a pair of words that are very similar, almost synonyms, but there's slight differences. Drinkejo and Trinkejo, with a D or a T. That means a bar or a drinking place. And there's a lot of overlap. A lot of restaurants have a bar there or also are bars, but you can also get food there. And so I would refer to an Applebee's as a Trinkejo or a Drinkejo, especially if I was going there to get an alcoholic beverage. If I was going there mostly just to eat food, I'd probably call it a Restoracio because that's why I'm going there. So one thing that is worth noting is that Drinkejo has to have alcohol in it. It's a place where you can get drunk. Drinky is to drink excessively an alcoholic beverage, whereas trinky can be milk or coffee or orange juice. Trinkejo. So there's a little subtle difference. And Trinkejo is also a more general word. A watering hole for a horse outside of a saloon technically is a Trinkejo as well, if you want to be real specific as far as what a dictionary would say. But you could use either Drinkejo or Trinkejo for a place where you want to go to get a drink. So that's a word for a bar. But what about the bar inside the bar? That would be Bufedo. Bufedo means a bar or a sideboard or a buffet table, like you might have in your dining room. Some people call it a credenza or a hutch as well. But if you're talking about an episode of the show Cheers, which is set in a bar, Drinkejo, someone stood in front of the bar and then the waiter was behind the bar helping out. That's a little more specific. That's where you'd say Bufedo. Let's look at this sample sentence here. Li staris c'è angulo della Bufedo en Drinkejo. He stood at a corner of the bar in a bar. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Taverno, real easy, that's a tavern. My local Esperanto club, we meet at Thinking Man Tavern in Decatur when there's not a pandemic going on, and we get some food, and we get some drinks, and that's a tavern. Similar overlap with Trinkejo or Drinkejo there. Now let's look at a place defined by its main food that it offers. These are defined more by the drinks. This is more about the food. Picejo is the word for a pizza place, a pizzeria. Pizza Hut is a Picejo. But if your brother worked at a pizza factory making Tostino's pizza rolls and pizzas to buy at a grocery store, do we call that a Picejo? No, it's pretty well established that Picejo means a place where you, John Q. Public, can go and get a pizza and eat it right there on the spot. It's a pizza restaurant. I would say Picfabriko for a factory that makes pizza. Okay? And same thing with any other kind of foods you want to say. You can specify with Fabrico if you're talking about the factory there. Hamburgerejo is a hamburger place, a hamburger joint. Like McDonald's is a Hamburgerejo. I don't like saying that word. Look at how I have to slow down to say it correctly. It's so long. So I wouldn't normally call it that. I would call McDonald's a Rapidmanĝejo. And that's because it is a fast food place. And that is the standard established thing. We don't say Rapid Restoracio, a rapid restaurant. No, we say Rapidmanĝejo for a fast food establishment. And we say Rapidmanĝaĵo for fast food. Oh, I got some fast food. I got some tacos. You got some hamburgers. You got some pizza. We're all having a good time here. So I went and met up with a person who just met. He's 2 weeks into learning Esperanto in Atlanta, and we went to a Mexica Restoracio. I would also call this place, more specifically, a burrito. Burrito isn't really listed in a lot of the Esperanto dictionaries that I've found. I see taco more often than burrito, but this is specifically a burrito. Can you guess? It's a place where oni staras kai mendas burritoin kai vidas la tutan pretigadon de la burrito. Kai poste, oni sidas kai manĝas ĝin. It was Chipotle. Moe's would have been a good guess too. But I went to Chipotle with this guy and we sat apart and talked about, oh, you're learning Esperanto, how cool, and here are some great resources I would recommend. So you can form a word like burrito. I couldn't find that online anywhere, anyone calling something that, but I think that's pretty clear. And if they don't know burrito, someone who's not familiar with that, let's say a Chinese Esperantist guy who in his city doesn't go to those kind of places, that never had a burrito before maybe, you can explain Mexica Restoracio. So don't just repeat your really specific word like Picejo. It's a Picejo for goodness sake. No, just explain. It's in Itala Restoracio. You can just help someone out. In Esperanto, if you ever get a blank look of confusion, use your other Esperanto words to explain more the specific word that you're trying to use. All right? Those are some restaurant words. I hope you enjoy them. Do you have a favorite kind of restaurant you like to go to? Is there a word that you think should be on this list as well? Let me know in the comments section below. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.